Today we're having fun with an AMG 6.0. What a way to start the video. Happy Thursday, guys. We are standing with one of my favorite cars of all time, and I have not made that like a secret or anything. You guys know my love for these old AMG cars. I grew up around these cars. Luckily, I had the experience to have Rentec down the street from my dad's warehouse, and I used to see these cars probably out of warranty. I used to see Rentec's cars race up and down the street. And I fell in love with these cars just like so many people. And I think the reason is because they're so iconic for being just damn badass. I mean, look at this car behind us. I mean, imagine, you know, in 1980s when these cars had chrome everywhere, that AMG blacked everything out. They lowered these cars, they put a body kit. The stance is so sick with all of the different style of wheels these cars had. And let's face it, the SEC design and these 80s design of Mercedes are just so good. I mean, the lines are straight. It's just such a good looking car. They're so iconic. You think of Miami Vice, you think of all of the celebrities that had these cars, Sylvester Stallone, and these cars just have made such an impact. And I think that's the other reason why people look at them as so badass. You know, when you think about the 80s and you think about 80s excess, you know, this was a period when the Lamborghini Countach was on the cover of magazines, the Ferrari Testarossa, and then here comes AMG with these V8 6-liter cars, and they were producing almost 400 horsepower, faster than the Testarossa, almost as fast as the Countach, and these cars were doing 180, 190, 200 miles per hour, and these cars were not cheap. I mean, a car like this would have been anywhere between $150,000 and as much as $225,000 in period, and that was a lot of money in 1986, 1987. We are standing with a very special car. It's actually one of a few cars that were produced in the US. And AMG in the period, they actually had a distributor in Chicago. We've talked about this on a few videos. That was led by a gentleman by the name of Richard Buxbaum. And he basically started, it was AMG North America, AMG Central. And at that period, because AMG, and if you knew anything about Mercedes, you couldn't just bring in a gray market European car. They actually would produce these cars based on US chassis. AMG had probably sent about 40, the number is probably between 30 and 40 of these famous 6-liter 32-valve engines. These are the major, so 4-cam engine producing 385 horsepower to the US. And they had sent their lead tech, Hartmut Feil, the founder of Rentec, over with the engines, and he started to install them for US celebrities, US moguls, and clients around the country. What makes this car so special, if you guys remember, we did a great video about the time capsule collection. This is one of the cars. And you know, in that period, how many people were keeping their records? They weren't, you know, they were probably ended up driving these cars as daily drivers. This car is completely original with 26,000 miles, and we had the opportunity to purchase it from the original owner. One of the heirs to the famous Mr. Coffee, the percolating coffee machine or whatever, the fortune. So one of the heirs, and he had basically brought a brand new 1987 560 SEC to AMG North America and basically had them do everything. So on this car specifically, they did the full body kit, so the rear valance, they did the exhaust, they did the Penta wheels, which you see here, the blacked out with the black lip here. All of the black trim was done. It had the AMG floor mats. It had the full AMG suspension. It had the AMG rear end, and obviously the AMG 6-liter 32-valve engine. So special. This is not, you'll see some of the other cars were actually converted into wide body cars. We'll have a great story about a very famous wide body 6-liter SEC as well. This is not one of the wide body cars, it's a narrow body car. And we believe there were probably, of the 40 6-liter engines that were sent to the US, we believe there was probably like, I don't know, 5 or 6 that went into the narrow body cars. There was probably another 6 or 7 that went into the wide body cars. There was about 10 that went into the famous Hammer cars. Now, not to be confused, this is the engine that went into the 124 cars, which was the smaller sedan, the smaller coupe, and then the wagon. But this is actually not a Hammer. So the Hammer would have only been the 6-liter engine or a 5.6-liter engine with the 4-cam into the smaller chassis. This is the 126, so basically the S-Class chassis, a much bigger car, but still just as badass, just as cool, and still has so much presence. I'm completely in love. I think these cars have a huge future as part of AMG history, as part of the history of Mercedes. I mean, if it wasn't for these cars, and specifically the US cars that made the cover of Road and Track, that made the cover of Car and Driver, we would not know what AMG is today. And when you think about AMG as a brand, it's one of the most important performance brands in the world, and probably one of the most important parts of Mercedes. Excited to share this basically little fun time with you guys. Thank you again for watching. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and see you next week. We're running a little hot.
What's it at?
About 100.